presented. Old business.
Tom, I ain't gonna say this is old business or even business or even council business, but this information and more for the people out there. I got a call from Neiman Foods Friday. And the reason you're not seeing any action out there on the building is they haven't took possession yet, because before they take possession, they gotta have a walkthrough with Kroger and the landlord, and that hasn't happened yet. And they said it'd probably be a week or two before that happens. But everything's in place, the lease is signed, everything's done, but I guess this Representative Kroger, they're waiting on him. Now, really, that's not old business, but I needed to say it somewhere, so I fixed it.
That's a good place to say.
Well, Monroe, did they ever put a date, a finish date on that?
Yes.
What's the date?
February.
It's just the month of February?
And it'll probably, of course, they're getting a late start now, so
Right.
it'll be in September, so it'll probably, but then, now, that's just me saying.
Okay.
Thank you, Monroe. Okay.
It's other old business stuff, we could talk about this under buildings and grounds, but Merce Properties had until the 5th to get cleaned up, correct? And that's passed, so.
What's the burst deadline?
Now the burst deadline is another 30 days. The judge gave him another 30 days.
Anything else, Mark?
That's ridiculous.
Give me a second to stop being stunned.
Kent, go ahead.
Councilman, I went a different avenue and declared the property a public nuisance. And put up signs, took pictures, did everything according to city ordinances to declare it a public nuisance. And I gave all that information to the prosecutor Thursday at trial. And I guess he wanted to review it before he made a decision. And so it wasn't brought up, and he was given another 30 days.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm hoping that in October that everybody will be on the same page.
Okay, and then the other old business that we had was relating to the town branch conversation. Do you want to, should we do that now, or you want to do later?
It's fine.
There was just a question of whether or not, if either the use of an easement deed or a quitclaim deed would be appropriate for us to systematically go down the branch and establish ownership. And I think that was a question that was going to be directed to the city attorney.
Yeah, you can do it. We'd have to get legal descriptions of the part of the dominant properties to have the easement on.
So that, for instance, is, I think, really key. So if we need that, a part of our process is to, as a plan, be able to budget for a survey, right? I mean, there's a cost associated with that?
No, a survey would not be necessary, because all you're doing is taking ownership of the parcel, which is actually the branch.
So legal descriptions exist for the branch?
I don't know.
And I'll check with the recorder.
If they don't,
If they
then,
don't, maybe a survey, then there would be the cost of the survey. But my understanding is that for years and years, the city has been doing something down there on an annual basis.
I think some years it has, some years it
But, well,
hasn't, especially in
yeah,
recent
Without
times.
any easements.
But based upon FEMA's determination, that didn't establish ownership because,
Right, so we're gonna need these documents, something like this document, to establish ownership in the eyes of people like FEMA.
Okay.
mhm.
But that doesn't mean you can't go ahead and do whatever abatement work that you have customarily been doing with the apparent consent of those landowners.
Okay,
Parent consent?
There is a Missouri statute that avails us the opportunity to go in there and perform maintenance.
So maybe we have two separate issues here. One is,
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is that we can go ahead and go in there and do what needs to be done to fix the problems.
Well,
Yeah.
my understanding is that the city's been doing something down there of an abatement nature for years and years.
Yes,
And
there's
There's never been a complaint by any of the landowners.
Okay,
So
so we should be pursuing that, right?
that probably means I wouldn't stop what you're doing, especially
Right.
if it's a good thing.
Second track is, let's go ahead and pursue whatever documentation we need. But if that comes with some
might
overhead
require
of money, the city
Yeah,
council's
let me
gonna need to
check with the
provide that.
recorder's office tomorrow. I will go up there personally, talk to them, and see
Great,
how we should proceed.
And Bart, I have talked to some property owners along the branch, and they told me, whatever it takes, if it takes an easement or a deed, whatever it takes, they're willing to do it to get the branch fixed.
I think we're all in agreement. What we need to do is dot our i's, cross our t's, so we can tell FEMA, here's the documents, help us out when we get a bad
Because
problem.
that was part of my application for that grant,
Yeah,
for that HMGP grant, notice of intent, that we would pursue
okay,
attaining
yes.
legal ownership.
So does our legal counsel have a preference, or can you help us understand, should we be pursuing easement deeds or quitclaim deeds, or is there any difference?
There's a big difference.
Okay, so what, no, I mean in terms of giving us the right to get in there, what would you recommend we pursue?
The quitclaim deed, for whatever description that pertains to, it gives the city all the right title and interest in there, whatever the grantor has, if any.
Right.
As opposed to a warranty deed, which guarantees that they have the
Right.
interest in it. But then you're totally and solely responsible. But is that really what the city needs, or can it have an interest in land less than fee simple, which could be a license or an easement or lease, a number of things. You could have a 990-year lease, for
Mhm.
example. But an easement just gives the city the right to go onto the property and to make certain improvements, period. But the property is still owned by the regular landowner, and consequently, so on the tax rolls.
So what would you recommend, an easement, that we pursue an
Well-
easement?
Philosophically, why should the government have any more than it absolutely needs?
Okay.
So I would say an easement.
Okay, so our next step is to see what legal descriptions actually
I'll
exist.
see if there's, yeah, how it's recorded by the recorder's office.
Very good. That's all I have, Tom.
Okay,
And that may take a while to go through all those.
Yeah.
Depending
Well,
on
there's,
how many there
how
are.
many were there, Reverend Cohn?
I gave you copies of all the
Right.
deeds of the properties along the city branch. There are 100.
That's quite an endeavor.
You don't need to go to the
Yes.
recorder's office, Bob. You've already got.
you got all the legal,
Do those all have legal descriptions
Yes.
of the branch?
No, they do.
Because it has to be,
I don't think they show what,
yeah, that's what we
Not
the
need.
just
part
that
that's a
area.
branch, they show the whole plat,
Right, so
but
we need the
not the part
branch.
that's actually the branch.
They
and
don't all refer to the branch.
no.
Yeah,
Very few of
Some
them.
of them cross over and back, but
Very
but-
few cross over.
when I was talking to some of the property owners, they asked the question, are you gonna take this ground and maintain it and take care of it from now on? I said, no. I said, all we want is an easement to come in, fix that wall, and go on. I said, the property's still yours, you're in control of it or anything, but I said, all we want's an easement. And when I used to do that for the utility company, we had got a lot of easements, but ours on that one, we used to maintain them, and we can maintain them for the city branch, but it still belongs to property owners.
So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll know if we have the documentation or what
Okay.
ones we need
I'll give you.
for the easement.
That may be optimistic. I mean, anytime you're dealing with 100 different landowners, potentially 100 different scenarios.
I go
Well-
and speak for five.
Then let me suggest that you have a list of some particular ones that are critical, that we want to try to address
Right.
as immediately
The
as
ones
possible and
that I
first.
probably identified.
Let's
for
see if we can
FEMA.
get our hands around those. And then let's break the rest of the branch out into some pieces. We don't have to do it all today, but we ought to establish a phased plan that winds up with us having documentation that shows ownership for all of them.
If you fix this piece, you're gonna weaken this piece.
That may be, yeah.
So
It's part of what we'll have to
it's
consider.
gonna be a domino effect, it's just gonna,
You
gotta start somewhere.
yeah.
We gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other old business? If not, we'll open the council to any visitors in the audience that'd like to address them. They do so at this time.
Hello,
Aye.
good evening. My name is Bridget Warren. My daughter plays on a team called the Warcats. We're a travel ball softball team, and we're hoping to use the corner of 3rd and Georgia to collect funds over there. It's in a basement, I don't know where I am. In March, hopefully a Friday evening, and I checked a few weeks back, and it looked like March was still open. We're hoping for a Friday evening and possibly Saturday morning.
What day?
Is it open?
We didn't have a particular day, we were just, we
Whatever
had heard
open.
that March was open, and we were hoping for that.
And March is one that is not taken, so
The whole month is not there.
I don't have anything.
Pick a day.
Pick a
We
day.
have
You said a Friday,
specific.
If Friday and Saturday would be great.
Which
Well,
Friday's
but
that?
first,
Let's
second,
go with the
third.
first. Let's go with the
That's the
first.
7th and 8th. It looks like the
7th and 8th would be
first
great.
week of March.
First weekend in March.
7th and 8th, Sharon.
I'm sorry.
7th and 8th.
It'll be cold.
It will, that was the
Bonfire out in Middle
it
Creek.
was, and so, and we actually, we're not starting until October, till the league is, or the school ball is done. So, well, then we'll start up in October. And just to let you know, they were the Show Me Game champions this year,
They're
so.
from Louisiana, the travel team?
Almost all of them. We have 3 players, a couple from Bowling Green and 1 from Hannibal, but the rest are all from here.
Well, good,
so-
we're getting a new softball field.
Yes.
There are some rules on age, right?
Yeah.
Participation there,
You know
so just so
Yes, they
you're
know
aware of
They can
that.
only stand actually on the corner, and the parents will actually stand in the street.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. What's council pleasure?
I'd make a motion that the Warriors team,
Warcats.
Warcats team be allowed to have a street collection on May 7th and 8th,
March.
March 7th and 8th.
I'll second it.
Motion made and second, call the roll.
Thank you.
Mr. Elliott?
Wait a minute, they voted
Oh,
on
did you
it.
say that? Oh, I thought Mr.
Pop-
I thought we said yes.
Mr. Needham?
Yes.
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Now she thinks.
Now you
Okay.
can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the council?
I have something here.
Well, Don's getting up.
My name is Don Oakley, and I'm doing the elected vice chairman of HPC. And Dr. Green is the chairman, and he was going to do this tonight. For some reason, he isn't here. But some of what I have to say is hearsay, so I'm going to put it that way. And I'm just giving you some advice that I think I'd like for you to adhere to as council people. If it doesn't apply to you, just don't pay it any mind. If it does apply to you, I'd like for you to take heed. There's some businesses downtown that are improving some of their buildings. And one of the individuals that, like I said, this is hearsay, but I have heard that he is getting unsolicited and unwanted advice from HPC guidelines, and it's irritating him. And we, as council, as HPC members, we're going to invite him, or we still are going to invite him at our next meeting and discuss some of these things and see if he and others, if we can help them. We'd like to help because as long as I've been acquainted with HPC, it gave me a bad taste because what I have heard I didn't like. We have a group of people on there now that I think that we would like to turn this around. We would like to have the help of the council people. There's not one person on HPC that has any authority to do anything. And there's not one person on the council that has any authority to do anything or to help or hinder HPC. You can do it as a unit. So we would like to have your help. If you'd like to make a contribution, if you have something to offer to HPC, we would ask you to attend the meetings. If you don't want to attend the meetings, but you have advice to offer, we would like to ask you to stop doing that. The other thing, request that I have, I'd like to request the mayor to appoint a liaison to HPC. If we have a liaison, one of the council people would be sharing what I'm sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Well, if they're requesting, Dr. Green and them requesting a liaison, Bart served on it, Chuck served on it, and I'd like to appoint Sonny to it as our liaison to the HPC with council approval.
Well, you need a motion.
Motion.
Well, I'll make a motion the council approves Russell Stevens' appointment to the liaison between the council and HPC.
I'll second it.
Second by Larry White. No discussion, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Abstain.
Mr. Neener?
Yes.
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Abstain.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
So be it. You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other,
I have something.
Oh, you have something, okay.
I received a letter from the Louisiana Country Color Fest. October 19th and 20th will mark the 29th Louisiana Country Color Fest in downtown Louisiana. They would just like, requesting that the city provide all the services for which they provided before for the Color Fest, and I have the attached list here.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick
Council's
question?
pleasure.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Yes.
Does Colorfest pay for the electric service, or does Ameren donate that?
No,
No, the city
city,
pays for it.
city pays it.
But the lights are on the same panels, there's no way to split out whatever usage we might use for those 2 days.
There's no way to
We only
differentiate?
use about, I think there are about 15 to 20 of the 20 amp receptacles that get used during that time. And there are, I want to say 5 50 amp and about 2 30 amp 120 volts that get used during that time frame. We use panels at Leslie's, at 5th Street, at 4th Street, both sides, and at Bank of
How
Louisiana.
much has that been? Do you have any idea?
No, they used to do a reading before and after, back before the lights got on those
Right.
things, and it wasn't
Wasn't
maybe
bad?
100, 150.
Okay. Well, the reason I
That
asked
was
that.
back in the, I want to say mid-90s.
Okay.
Because they turned them on and off
Well,
because they were all by themselves.
I just know that we went to a little, in Lincoln, they have a balloon festival, and Ameren came in and they actually donated all the power.
That would be nice.
Yeah, so it might be something we can look into, so, phone call, I could talk to them.
Uh,
Anyway, sorry, that was
Yeah,
kind of,
but they're all on the same panels with
Okay.
the lights on Georgia Street.
I'm a numbers cruncher, I'm trying to save it down
Okay,
Good,
for the city.
do we need a motion to approve that, is that what you want?
yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion, I don't know how to say it, what do you,
To
City
furnish the equipment, manpower, and electricity and stuff that we furnished in the
the
past.
services that we normally provide to Color Fest, we make a motion, we would provide those services
I'll
in
second.
2013.
I'll second that.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? If not, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman? Yes. Mr. Neener?
I vote yes, but I want to indicate that I'm president of the Louisiana Chamber of Commerce, and the Colorfest Committee is a subcommittee of that. But I vote yes.
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh, in answer to part of that, we've also done upgrades on those panels for different things, and Colorfest Committee paid for that kind of stuff, so
Good.
that's kind of the,
Trade-off,
yeah, the partnership.
that's good.
Okay. Other communications, it's library card month proclamation. Whereas the library card is the most important school supply of all. And whereas libraries are an essential service for the nation's children, and whereas libraries bridge the digital divide by providing a full range of information and service to children and adult leaders. And whereas libraries offer free access to important education resources like online homework resources, access to online database and e-books, and whereas libraries continue to evolve and find ways to bring value to their community. And whereas a library card is the smartest card you can own. And now, therefore I, Thomas Wallace, Mayor of the City of Louisiana, do hereby proclaim the month of September Library Card Sign-Up Month in Louisiana, Missouri, and encourage everyone to sign up for the smartest card at your library. And that is the smartest card you'll ever get. Okay. Committee reports. Finance.
Finance Committee was called to order at 5:30 PM with Mr. Neener, myself, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Wood present, also Mr. Jenner, Mayor Wallace, Mr. Rath, and Ms. Johnson. I made a motion to approve the minutes of the August 12th meeting, seconded by Mr. Stevens, all voted yea. Made a motion to bring before the council paying warrant 74 through 83 of 2013, excuse me, in the amount of $214,142.65. Seconded by Mr. Neener, all voting yea. I make a motion to pay that $214,142.65 through warrant 74 through 83 in full.
I second that motion.
Motion made and second. Call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yea.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yea.
Mr. Neener?
Yay.
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Okay, also stated that there was a request for Penn Klinger Associates $14,521.25 and Lehman Corporation of $198,473.40 for a cumulative total of $212,994.65. Made a motion to bring that to full council with Mr. Neener voting yea. I make a motion to pay those bills as well.
Second.
Motion made, second. Call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yeah.
Mr. Hoffman? Yes. Mr. Neener?
Yes.
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Okay, Bart asked about the ordinances for the water and sewer bonds. Mr. Jenny hoped to have the information by mid-year budget review. Bart suggested the line items needed to be set up for the purchase of new equipment and vehicles and money set aside every year for those purchases. We will also look at that at mid-year budget review as well. Bart suggested there were legal ways to use the revenues collected by the water and sewer usage, and this could be looked at in the future as well. Bob stated that the only bid received for the new lawnmower was from Meyer Implement in the amount of $16,950. I'm sorry, $16,950. I'm sorry, guys. It's one of those days.
You really want to?
That went,
Woo!
It's a nice lawnmower.
That is a really sweet lawnmower. We made a motion to bring that to full council to pay. Bart brought that to full council. Mr. Stevens voted, seconded, all voted yay. I make a motion to pay the full $16,950 to Meyer Implement.
Second.
Motion made and second, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neener?
Yes.
Mr. Polis?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White? Mr.
Yes.
Okay, Bob stated there is a LIDC account with $1,717.36 that hasn't been touched for about 10 years. The LIDC is no longer in existence and wanted to move the money to the general fund and close the account. I made a motion to take it to full council. Mr. Stevens seconded, all voting yay. I make a motion now to move that money into the general fund.
I second that.
Motion made and second, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yeah.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neener?
Yay.
Mr. Polis?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
I made the motion to adjourn, seconded by Bart, all voting yay, adjourned at 5:58 PM.
Thank you. Fire committee?
There is no significant business to report.
Okay, thank you, Bart. Police committee?
We approved the minutes of our August committee meeting. We stated that Chief Hughes is looking into a block grant. He's working on it. This block grant is for things like radios and lights, in-car cameras, police-related equipment. The deadline for this to be submitted is September 15th. We're still in need of a part-time dispatcher. The MDT training for the officers will be taking place throughout the month of September. The new 911 recorders are in the dispatch area. Last week was Officer Wade Lovelace's last day as a full-time officer. He's taking a job closer to home, however, he will remain as an auxiliary officer with Louisiana. And Officer Lovelace thanked the city for allowing him the opportunity to serve in this area. We did have a flea problem at the dog pound, but the building was fumigated. And the dogs have been treated for the fleas, so I think our flea problem is gone right now. We're looking for a future expansion to the shelter. The animals are required to be in a controlled climate, so that could amount to about $4,000 for that, but that was something that will be brought up in next year's budget. Stated that the police cars are limping along and that they're still limping. The repairs are starting to mount up. There'll be more discussion on this matter later on. Trying to get a comprehensive plan for all equipment and vehicles, maybe at the mid-year budget review. And that's all I have, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
At the last meeting, Sal asked if anything could be done about the people speeding on North Main Street. It's in the street and alleys, but I don't think that pertains to us. That's yours.
Well, he suggested, or someone suggested to him, whatever, about speed bumps, and we can't do speed bumps because of the grader for ice and snow. So speed bumps are not an option.
I believe the chief indicated he was going to increase a little bit of patrol presence.
That's been passed on to the shift supervisors, they're all aware of it. We some of us live up in that area, so we kind of like it too.
No paintball.
Go ahead.
That's all I have.
Okay.
We're done.
Buildings and grounds.
Okay. Mrs. Smith made a motion.
The streets and alleys.
We did a fast streets announcement.
How'd you do that? How'd you do that, you either?
Okay, back up to streets and alleys.
Okay.
Sorry.
The minutes were approved in the August 5th meeting. The largest stop sign was ordered for the intersection 9th and North Carolina Street has not arrived at this time.
The sign's been moved over today, and there's a larger sign.
Okay. Okay. There was one bid received for the asphalt project. Mr. Jenny opened the bid with Mid-River Asphalt, $49,270,000. Mr. Jenny stated we had budgeted $50,000 for the project. Mr. Jenny stated that Mid-River Asphalt could start this project possibly the 1st of October. Are they still? Okay. Do we still have to bring this to a motion to approve the? Okay, Mr. Neatner made a motion to take full council approve Mid-River Asphalt bid at $49,270,000, second by Mr. What did I say?
$270,000.
We're close. $49,270, second by Mr. Wood, all voting yea, motion carried. You want to make another motion? You have to make another motion to bring to full council?
Well, you can. You already.
You can make a motion. Yeah.
All you need to do now is make a motion
To approve.
I'll be glad to make it if you'd like.
No, that's all. I'll make a motion that we approve the bid.
I'll
Second.
second.
Motion made, second.
No.
There you
Call
go.
the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Meisner?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes. Bob stated that he's keeping a record of the dip at George Street at Kelly Lane, which will also be work the street department could do. Is that sinking anymore, Bob, or is it kind of staying where it was?
Staying at 2-inch level.
And that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. White.
Okay. The motion will approve the minutes of the August 5th meeting. It was seconded by Mr. Hoffman, all voting yea. Mr. Elliott had a question about the swimming pool closing early. Mr. Jenny stated that the pool officially closed September the 2nd. He spoke with Ms. Garrison, and it was inferred that with Melissa leaving, there was no one available from the Y to supervise the pool. Mr. Elliott stated that Mr. Hoffman had a problem with numerous dead trees on property in town and believes people need to be cited for potentially dangerous trees.
Let me comment there, Larry. That could be read that I was the one that believed that people need to be cited. It's not me. That was Bart, or not Bart, that's Bart over there, just Chuck Austin. Chuck is the one that believes that them people should be cited, not me. And that's what this actually says, but when I first read it, I read it was me of saying it. So it was not me saying it. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Needler stated that we're looking at a few new ordinances on this. Mr. Jenny stated we need to look into the legality of enforcing property owners to trim trees. Mr. Jenny stated that the property of the Hodges building, the potential buyer of the Hodges building, and her structural engineer, right now there are 2 holdups. Structural engineering report, he states that first and second floor joists need to be replaced and redecked. The roof rafters are intact, but the roof will need to be done. Mr. Jennings will get some new tarps to place on the roof because the old ones were torn and removed. And the second is getting property insurance on the building. Is there anything else on that anymore?
I believe Bart received some preliminary word from Janine that it appears that the structural report will go ahead and say, yes, while it needs extensive internal repair, the building itself can be rehabilitated.
I was simply told in a private conversation with her that the structural report reflected that. I haven't seen it.
In that we have nothing in writing.
Okay. Mr. Elliott asked about the permit for the dumpster. Mr. Janney stated he has the application process, which involves a plan, permit, and stormwater permit included with it. Mrs. Smith stated she has concerns about the Noy Creek Bridge. She has emailed MoDOT, received an email stating that the bridge is not in that bad a shape. MoDOT is keeping an eye on it. Mr. Nieder stated that we must figure out how to get ownership by using quitclaim deeds or easement deeds on the city branch. Mr. Elliott stated that there was concerns about the Clinton Spring and MoDOT was in charge of that part. Since they have lost funding, they no longer take care of it.
Can I,
Go ahead.
to back up just a moment back to the branch,
Okay.
if we're forking our conversation here, one line being to over time gain, documents that show ownership for long-term recovery efforts, and the other being that our attorney has said he believes we're okay to go forward and go in there and do something where necessary, what are we going to do in that second fork? What is our attorney saying we can do it? What are we going to do? What are we
Weather
gonna
permitting,
fix?
we'd like to try and restack some of the rocks that fell down into the branch, into the openings that were left as a result of the flooding.
Are there particular locations that you have in mind?
Yeah, originally when I submitted everything to SEMA, I had 9 small projects identified. They only reimbursed us for 3 of that 9. So I have 6 remaining.
Okay. So you'll start with those?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and do you need anything from us to
No, I
do that?
think what Reverend Cohn has provided me with will allow me to go up to the recorder's office and see who actually owns those, and then I can pursue that with the
Right, so
city attorney.
that's the part about the long-term ownership, but the part about going in there and doing maintenance that needs to be done,
We can do.
we can do now.
that already based upon the state ordinance.
And you're picking these 6 places as the
Yes.
first places to go.
Yes, sir.
So we should be able to tell our community in coming months, hey, we went and did this
And
to the town branch.
I will
right?
provide council with a list of
That's super, fantastic.
Can we start
Thanks.
pulling the gravel out that's piled up and in different spots?
Yeah, basically, I've already obtained a permit from the Corps of Engineers.
So we could start taking rock out,
Yeah,
gravel.
but what I was, on that big wall, there's no way we can take it out behind Jay Thomas's and that without expending considerable funds. So that's the one I requested FEMA to allow us to leave in there as it sits. And I've had no response back from that yet. And I suspect, knowing FEMA, it'll be 2 months down the line.
Go ahead.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Larry, out the ballpark, they cleaned their concrete truck out in that ditch that goes under the little pathway that people walk. they clean their concrete truck out there and it stops the water from going whichever way it's supposed to go. It's gonna back up in the field or in the new field or.
I'll have Bill, I'll get with you and I'll have Bill take a look at it.
Okay, they shouldn't have cleaned it out there.
Is there anybody in charge there that's overseeing this project for the city? That's kind of keeping tabs?
Bill's kind of keeping tabs on them, and I go out daily.
And Curtis has been out there
Yeah, I knew he
considerably.
was.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have somebody from our side kind of making sure.
I'm there.
I get called after the fact, so.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Water Committee.
Okay, we approved the minutes of the August meeting, and Mr. Jenny has 3 engineering studies that we're supposed to be taking a look at, but we haven't had a copy yet.
Well, they only provided us with 2 copies, and actually, what I would like to do is recommend, and I can do it under my report, or if you want to, I can continue now.
No, do it under your report.
Okay, sir.
Okay. East Street tank is
Still pending.
and you, could you give us a short report on the COD plant or the wastewater plant where we're at?
They're working on basically all the piping and everything is pretty much in. They're working on the gangways that we'll be able to walk across the top of everything. They, from what I heard from Klinger and Associates, they're closing, they're going to be right on their deadline. So.
Okay, great. I don't know what you did to stop that smell, but I'm satisfied in people on the south side.
Well, I told Ricky, I said we've got some, a chemical solution that we can add to it,
Well, it's gone.
that it's approved by
It sure
DNR.
improved the smell, yeah.
Shoot, I don't have that
There's
restaurant.
been a lot of phone calls.
Okay. Are we gonna, and Russell wanted to know if we were gonna ask the people to conserve water when you're doing this East Street thing.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll put an article into the newspaper, letting residents know what we're intending to do and what the purpose of it is for.
Okay. And we got this change order here. Is this where we're gonna take care of that at?
Yes, sir.
I got a question.
Okay.
There's 3 different bills there. You want to, do we vote on them separately or all?
No, because it was all combined under one change order, that being change order number 3 for DNR to review. And DNR's already approved it.
We can't vote on these separately?
No, because basically this is one entire change order, and that's the way it was drafted by the engineer.
But Monroe, if your intention is to pull that gravel out from the flood because they didn't ask prior, or to pull one thing out or something to separate out those issues, you could make a motion to have the city discuss changing that. I mean, that's a request, right? So your motion doesn't have, but it sounds like you're asking what kind of motion can I make? And I'm saying that you can think outside of the box on this if you'd like. If you're after something, we can pursue a conversation with them about whatever it is your concern is.
Well, I know it's not much money, but that $850, we've turned down one.
We've what?
We've turned down that $850 at one time. Well, here, not too long ago, they asked for that once before.
There was a change order for some changes
And we said no
to
at
the
that
ceiling
time. So now
in-
they come in, they stick it in number 3.
in the
where I-
lab.
Where I don't have a choice. See what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember the ceiling. I didn't remember that was in
It was
it.
the 850, the same amount?
That's my problem. If you can give it to me over the table, I'll reach under the table and get it. No, that's not true. Don't put that in paper.
Well, if your concern is,
My concern is, do it up front. If you need the money, then ask for it in the right way. But you've asked for it, we said no, now you come back and you put it in a change order number 3 that, according to, we can't split up. So you're wanting that $850, and I know $850 ain't a lot of money, but it's just the process.
well, it is to some people, and it's
Well, it
those
is to
people's
me.
money.
It's to me, don't get me
Yeah, right. No, I understand, but I guess what I'm saying is, it is possible, if that's an important issue, to go back and say, look, we have an issue with this,
And I have
isn't
an
it?
issue
It's a pain in the
with
butt, but it,
with them buying that gravel and then coming to us and say, we want you to pay for that. They should have asked us.
But that was an unexpected expenditure so that they could continue working on the plant during
I agree.
the flooding to avoid totally shutting down.
What if it hadn't been an unexpected issue?
That's what contingency funds are built into the
No, suppose
bond.
it hadn't been unexpected. Suppose that tomorrow they do something else that's not unexpected. And I don't know how you could say a flood in Louisiana, Missouri is unexpected.
I'm not here to argue with you,
I'm
sir.
not gonna argue with you, I'm making a statement.
I think we'd have to deal with it at that time. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it happened. We have to deal with it.
All right. I'm gonna make my feelings known, whether anybody likes it or not. Okay, I'm not gonna make that motion, but I would welcome somebody else to make it.
I'll make the motion that we approve this change order as submitted
$21,631.74. Okay.
for that amount.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Is there-
Motion made and second.
Is there any discussion?
Any discussion? If not, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
No.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neener?
Yes?
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
No.
Mr. Wood?
No.
Motion carried. Go ahead.
That's, I believe that was it. That's all in the minutes here anyway, unless, remember, you got any?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Grant Committee,
Kathy's gone.
Next on the list is Chuck.
Okay. Mrs. Smith made a motion to approve the minutes of the August 5th meeting. It was seconded, and I voted yea. Mr. Jenny stated that he has submitted a letter of intent for a hazard mitigation program. And Mr. Jenny is working to close out the benches and the table grants. And that's all that I'm aware of.
thank you. Ordinance Committee,
I made a motion to approve the minutes of the August 5th meeting, and it was seconded by Mr. Elliott, all voting yea, and motion is carried. Mrs. Smith made a motion to recommend to full council to pass, and I read it now, an ordinance to amend section 110.2350, repeal of declaring emergency status for reviewing any bill or ordinance of the municipal code of the city of Louisiana, the county of Pike, Missouri.
What ordinance is it repealing?
I thought it was 110,
250.
250, yeah.
250, okay, it's,
That's wrong.
It's got
okay, let me get
a
it.
number in there.
And,
Yes,
Tom, 110, there's two ordinances that are coming up to be looked at. I was surprised by Monroe's position on that at council, or at the committee meetings. I think the two are related, 110-240 and 110-250. I think this is a tremendously important vote that we're about to have. This is not something small. It comes to fundamentally what our roles are here as the legislature of this city. I'd like, with your permission, with Tom's permission, I'd like to read a page that I've prepared. This is me trying to review where we are and what this thing is about. So it's not just numbers that are on our mind and a yay and nay, that we're considering how come we're here. Okay?
But before you do that, will you get those numbers straightened down?
Sure.
Let me reread the whole thing.
No, my minutes show this 2350 today.
No,
And the next one down here is 11024.
It should be
240.
It's 110-240, and then 110-250 is for the emergency.
These need to be revised.
Yes.
Actually,
Just a typo.
but they don't stop us tonight.
Okay, would you like me to reread it with the correct numbers?
I think we clarified that. Anybody confused about what ordinances we're talking about?
All right, make your comment.
Thank you, I appreciate it. The proposed ordinances being considered would abolish existing ordinances 110-240 and 110-250. Ordinances 110-240 and 110-250 are related to one another and deal with how new legislation is considered. Actually, all legislation. Ordinance 110-240 governs the procedure for the mayor and council to consider any bill or ordinance. It's pretty fundamental. It reads, "The mayor and council shall only consider bills or ordinances previously reviewed in some written form and referred to the full council by the ordinance committee or other appropriate committee. Any referring committee must consist of current city council members." You might recall that last statement caused a great deal of delay in passing legislation at the beginning of the year. But that's not the most problematic portion of 110-240. The city attorney has given the legal opinion that this ordinance is inconsistent with state law. And here, quote from the city attorney's opinion: "If it is the intention of this ordinance to abolish the council's power to consider an ordinance that did not originate from a referring committee, the ordinance appears to be in conflict with RSMO section 77.080, which sets out the procedure to enact an ordinance. It is noteworthy that section 77.080 contains no requirement that the council consider only proposed ordinances referred by a committee. It appears that any individual could write a proposed ordinance and the council would have the legal power to enact such an ordinance." End quote. Further, state statute gives adequate guidance on how legislation might be considered, and local ordinance mirroring that state statute is unnecessary. Certainly, a local ordinance contrary to state statute should be repealed, as it is in this case. Ordinance 110-250 governs the procedure for the mayor and council to consider a bill or ordinance in an emergency. It reads, "If any bill or ordinance is presented to the mayor and/or council before being reviewed in some written form and referred to the full council by the ordinance committee or other appropriate committee as described in section 110-240, it should be considered only if the bill or ordinance is declared to be an emergency or special status measure by roll call vote of the council. If the bill or ordinance is not declared an emergency or special status measure by the majority of the elected council, the bill or ordinance shall not be considered at the same council meeting. If the determination to be an emergency or special status measure by the majority of the elected council, the bill or ordinance shall be considered at the same council meeting." Because 110-250 relies on the controls established in 110-240, and which the city attorney has deemed to be inconsistent with state law, it must, at a minimum, be amended. However, the rest of 110-250 is also problematic inasmuch as it defines terms and circumstances with not consistent with those found in the Sunshine Law. I suspect that it actually predates the Sunshine Law and was attempting to do some of the same things. So it's kind of a leftover vestige. This creates confusion rather than clarity. The primary goal is to allow the council to address legislation which cannot be afforded the normal courtesies of the Sunshine Law. For example, it's an emergency. For this reason, the city attorney also finds 110-250 to be in conflict with state law. Quote, "This bill appears to be in conflict of state law because it prohibits what otherwise appears lawful under the state statute. Subsection 2 of Sunshine Law RSMO 610020 allows meetings and thus consideration of proposed ordinances to occur if the council finds it impossible or impractical to strictly comply with the Sunshine Law. There is not requirement that the council make a finding that something is an emergency. Therefore, it would seem the proposed ordinance, which is language from the ordinance that we're looking at, is a limitation on the council's own authority, which is not supported by state law and appears to be inconsistent with the public policy set out in the Sunshine Law. End quote. Further, state statute specifically the Sunshine Law, gives very specific and careful guidance on how legislation might be considered in an emergency. There is no need to cloud the issue by introducing new terms via our local ordinance. And certainly, a local ordinance, contrary to state statute, should be repealed, as in this case. To summarize, ordinances 110-240 and 110-250 dealing with the manner in which the City Council can consider legislation should be repealed because they are both in conflict with state law and provide no useful clarification beyond that of the state statutes. They are both illegal, or at least inconsistent with state statute, and unnecessary. And I remind you that what this process sets up is a situation where our fundamental job for the 8 of us to represent the people that elected us to sit here in these seats can be dictated by a minority of 2. I'm a big proponent of listening to every minority, but when a minority can dictate the primary ability of this body to act, I think this is the most important vote we have had this year.
Elaborate on that a little bit. A specific example.
A specific example is that if 2 folks on the ordinance committee decide that they don't like something, it cannot pass according to our ordinance. Now, I believe that it could be taken to court and it could,
Right.
the city could be sued to make it happen, but I'd hate to see it go there. But according to our ordinance, 2 folks on the ordinance committee, that's a minority, you got 4 people on the ordinance committee, 2 people on the ordinance committee can keep it from happening because you don't have a majority to move forward.
That's true. But a committee is to recommend. They're not really to stymie it.
But the problem, Tom,
But they
the
can
problem
stymie
is
it.
that our ordinance says they can stymie
Right.
it.
Yes.
That's why this
That's
has
the
to be
problem.
repealed.
Well, okay.
Mr. Rapp?
He's already given his opinion. so-
Okay.
And I read them.
And then in other words, this could happen in streets and alleys.
He could have in any committee you have, finance, water, the whole bit.
And they're unnecessary. They don't add anything to the equation.
The problem is, that, again, it stymies getting things to the table that may need to come to this table that we have on this night, not on last Monday night. And this is an important evening, so.
Okay, you, ordinance committee, let's go on, or we have chat about it enough.
Okay. I ask for a motion to have a vote on it.
I make a motion that we accept the proposed ordinance to abolish ordinance 110-240, because that's the parent.
I can do that. Okay.
You got a vote, motion, and a second.
I made a motion.
I need a second.
Who seconded? You need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and second, we've had the discussion, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
No.
Mr. Hausman?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Absolutely.
Mr. Paulus?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
No.
Okay. By the way, I did not read it
That
officially.
was, you went to the second reading. Now
You went to,
have-
that was the first reading.
That was the first reading, now you have to go.
Okay. An ordinance to amend section 110-240, repeal a procedure for the mayor and council to consider any bill or ordinance of the municipal code of the city of Louisiana, county of Pike, Missouri. Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to accept the second reading.
But you
Right.
changed numbers. You went
Yeah, we
250 and then
That's
what-
240.
that's
right. I
That's
was-
first reading.
You were doing the
It's
first reading.
First reading,
240?
that was the first reading of
240.
240.
240.
Okay.
I will, but I need a vote on it. Okay,
Sorry.
you got a motion, there's a second.
Who's second?
I'll second.
Second, okay,
Okay.
motion made and second, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
No.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neider?
Yes.
Mr. Pauls?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
No.
Okay, that was the first reading of
Yes.
110.240.
Okay.
An ordinance to amend section 110.240, repeal of procedure for the mayor and council to consider any bill or ordinance of the municipal code of the city of Louisiana, county of Pike, Missouri. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to accept this is the second reading.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a motion to accept it as an ordinance.
That's it. 10-240.
240.
240.
I second that.
Second
Seconded.
by Sal.
Okay,
Call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
No.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neider?
Yes.
Mr. Pauls?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
No.
Motion passed.
okay. I have another ordinance which I read earlier, but I'll read again. An ordinance to amend section 110.250, repeal of declaring emergency status for reviewing any bill or ordinance of the municipal code of the city of Louisiana, county of Pike, Missouri. Do I have a motion to bring?
I'll make a motion to accept the first reading of,
No,
this is the second reading of that ordinance, repealing 110-250.
Motion made and second, call the roll.
We'll get there.
Mr. Elliott?
No.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neider?
Yes.
Mr. Pauls?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
No.
Okay.
And that was it.
That was for the second reading, wasn't it?
Yes.
Now you have to make it into a motion. for-
It was.
It was. That
That's
was.
what we voted
That was
on.
it.
So it's passed.
It
So be it.
passed.
It's a done. Anything else, Chuck?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. Special reports. Bob, you have one?
Yes. I would like to recommend to the council that we approve the request for statement of qualifications for MECO Engineering based on the fact that they have done 70 water storage facilities since 1985. They did a 200,000 gallon elevated tank in Barry, Illinois. They did a 150,000 ground level tank in Vienna, Missouri. They did both the Bowling Greens tanks, the 300,000 ground, and they did the 1 million gallon elevated tank. They did a 500,000 gallon pedestal tank in Fayette. They did a 500,000 pedestal in Boonville. They did a 400,000 ground storage in Concordia. They did a 1 million gallon pre-stressed concrete storage tank in Columbia. So based upon their performance, it would be my recommendation that we approve MECO Engineering to provide us with their services for a water storage tank.
I'd make a motion that we accept the qualifications and the city administrator's recommendation to go with MECO.
Motion made and second, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Neider?
Yes.
Mr. Pauls?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay. We had on special reports, I have the economic developer on there. You all got copies of that. He's not able to be here tonight. And we'll go on with.
While you're on it, I would just like to on the record say I'm really happy with the way he started and engaged the community. He's been at a number of things that I've been at and very participatory, and I'm just very pleased with the way he's
Yeah, I am too.
jumped
He's
into it.
doing well.
Yeah, he's gonna be all right.
We have this introduction of John Brooks Henderson. What's the council's thought? He can be put on the Hall of Famous Missourians if we petition the people and...
Mr. Mayor, it's already been done.
Huh?
Yeah, it's already been
It's
done.
already been done? Okay, then I don't need to...
Plus also Father John Cummings and James Hart Stark have
Okay.
been also in contact.
While you're on that, and, I mean, this isn't for a motion or anything, but I think that we ought to consider the fact that John B. Henderson to Louisiana is an amazing untapped resource. He is our Mark Twain, right? And he's an unknown. There's a certain amount of energy going into promoting him right now. Now's the time to do it. Anything we can do to support that translates into direct tourism and economic dollars to us. That's important.
What I'd like to do is have TC, with permission of the council, put that on the internet there and recommend, telling the city of Louisiana fathers are recommending John Brooks.
I'd be open to having a resolution written or something
There's
a little
already a
more.
proclamation.
Do we have a
We've already
proclamation?
gave a proclamation.
Okay.
The voting is done very differently than it has been in the past. In the past, the chairman of the House of Representatives has placed 3 people on the podiums down there. And one of them was Rush Limbaugh. So the new chairman has decided to make it a vote situation. There will be the names that have been suggested for positions, and the vote will be based on the people who come to the Capitol and are physically there and cast a vote.
Okay.
So what it really means is, if you're in Jefferson City, go vote for it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then there's nothing we need to do. Okay, new business. Media clarification.
A motion to adjourn.
That was quick, Jim.
Second. Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Holcomb?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yay.
Mr. Klein? Mr. Wood?
Yes.
They didn't put it on the most famous meeting.
Now, if you look at
Bridge and Mr. River.
the list now, you'd be surprised if